What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are all having a great day. I'm Anthony. On today's video, I got a really good one for y'all. Today, we are going to be talking all about setting up your personal apothecary. For those that don't know, apothecary is basically your own herbal medicine creation station, okay? So basically, you want to start creating herbal medicines. That's cool. We're going to talk about the ways that you can make them, like the preparations, the styles of herbal medicines out there, and we're going to talk about the tools you might need to get started. So let's go. That's right, today we're going to be talking all about setting up your very own apothecary, some of the tools that you might need, and ways that you can process herbs into medicine, okay? There are 7 different ways that I'm going to talk about in this video, and those are the 7 most popular ones that I use personally. So one thing I got to make sure I mention before I get started is I got to thank my friend Maccabeus over at Maccabeus Everyday Survival. Put his channel link down below in the description for giving me the idea for this video, because I didn't realize how many people were interested in this. But you know what, there's a lot of people who probably were like me 5 years ago who really wanted to get into it but didn't know where to start. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and give you a whole bunch of tools that you might need without any context to kind of confuse you, but also to bring it all together by the end of the video.
A T-ball, a mortar and pestle, a non-reactive stainless steel or copper pot, strainers, funnels, a kitchen scale, preferably one that uses the unit of grams, Pyrex cups, quart and pint mason jars, a capsule maker, and a dehydrator.
Now, in addition to some of those tools, we're also going to need to have some consumables. Consumables meaning you're probably going to use these once or twice and then throw them away.
For consumables, you want some cheesecloth, some tincture bottles. You don't need the tincture bottles, but they have a pipette inside them, so you're definitely going to need some pipettes. Salve tins, and some twine, just to be able to hang your herbs if you're not using a dehydrator.
Now, what I just mentioned is not an end-all be-all list. You'll probably need more, and you might actually need less, because some people can make do without. I know I may do without a lot of these for a long time, but as you start getting better in doing this, you're going to realize that if you can save yourself some time or some effort and just buy something because you make it enough, you will make that investment. Okay, so like I said in the intro, there are 7 different ways that I like to make my medicines, okay? Different types of medicines that you can potentially use from plants that are around your property, whether you planted them or whether you harvested them locally from somewhere else, or you just buy them. It really doesn't matter. And when I talk about each herbal preparation, I'm also going to give you some of the tools that you might need to be able to achieve that specific preparation.
Now, before I start, I got to hit the reasons why we prepare things the way we do. Now, these are fresh herbs. You can't really use a lot of fresh herbs unless you're making a fresh tea or an infusion. So you're going to want to make sure you tie them up and hang them so they dry, or use a dehydrator. Once they're dry, you can go ahead and chop them up using a knife and a cutting board. Or if you have a grinder, then that's even better. Some herbs can be stored just like this in tiny little jars. This is lavender, obviously. You can just dry it and then store it. Same thing with rosemary here. Just put it into a jar. And most of your cooking herbs, you can just do this. Oregano, dry them, chop them up, put them in jars. But other ones, like these cayenne peppers, need to be powdered before use, okay? A lot of times grinders make them like aerosols, so they get all up in your lungs. So mortar and pestle makes it a lot easier to do. So these are the ways that you can prepare some of your herbs so you can actually use them in medicines. Okay, so the number one way most people are going to be able to use a lot of the herbs they're going to want to try medicinally is going to be with an infusion, okay? An infusion is basically a glorified tea, but keep in mind that all teas are infusions. Not all infusions are teas, if that makes any sense. You'll understand in a second. Now, to make an infusion or tea, it's very simple. You can always put the leaves into the cup directly and just pour hot water over it and then strain it later. But I like to use this tea ball because it costs like $3 at Walmart, and you can easily find tea balls or whatever probably online for cheaper. So that is the number one tool you're going to need for an infusion. And all you do is you just put it back into your cup, something that can handle hot water, and pour hot water over it. Congratulations. If you wait 10 minutes, you're going to notice a color change, and there is your tea or infusion. But I just want to make sure that I mention here, not all infusions are using water. Some components in these leaves are oil soluble, not water soluble. So you're going to want to do an oiled infusion, which I've also done on this channel. So keep that part in mind. It's not always water. You can also use oil. Now for oil, most of the time I use it topically for medicines like that, but olive oil is a great option. So is castor oil. All you're really going to want to do is you're going to want to stuff your leaves into your jar and then pour the oil over it and wait 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, so next up is going to be the decoction. It's very close to the infusion. The main difference is an infusion uses these delicate parts of a plant like the leaves and the flowers, and a decoction is going to be using the fibrous material like the roots and the bark. There are a lot of good medicinal qualities and a lot of plants' roots that you cannot get in the leaves. So you make sure that you are using a decoction to be able to get that stuff out. Now, when you do this, you're going to have to put it into boiling water for several minutes. When you boil it, it's going to release all those good chemicals into that water. That way you can let it cool down and drink it automatically, or you can go ahead and put it off to the side and make something else with it. But this is the basis of a decoction. So really all you need is a saucepan and a strainer. All right, so the next one is going to be a salve. A salve generally is a medicinal compound that you make where you mix an oil with beeswax so it solidifies at room temperature so you can use it topically on your skin. Okay, it is very easy, handy to carry around, and is very effective. So the best way to do it is to start off with your jar full of your infused oil that we talked about making in your infusion step. You're going to infuse some oil. Then you're going to take that oil that's infused with whatever herb and you are going to strain it out. Okay, simple straining from a clean jar to another jar. Now you're going to take that leftover that's in there and you are going to run it through some cheesecloth and squeeze it because you want to try to get all that infused oil out as you possibly can. Then you are going to make sure that you weigh it. You want to have a good scale in grams because grams is the most accurate measurement. So you're going to weigh it and see how many grams you have. That way you can do a little bit of math to determine how much beeswax you're going to need to add to that oil to make sure it solidifies. I like to do a 4 to 1, 5 to 1, sometimes even a 6 to 1 depending on how hard I want to have the salve. If I want to get it easy to be able to use with my finger, then a 6 to 1 ratio of beeswax to oil, oil to beeswax. So then you're going to put it in here like a little double boiler method so it can melt together as you put it on low heat. It's not going to take very long. You're going to stir it and melt it together. When you get everything melted, you can then pour it into your salve tins. The whole reason why you want to have these tins as they're consumables because you can pour it in there and cap it off while it cools. Now, the best thing about these is you can absolutely use this to brand and give it away to family and friends because look at that. That's my emblem or my logo, and it's just a simple pine resin salve. I've done a video on this one. Check it out down below if you want to see it. But yeah, it explains everything on how to make a salve. These are very effective medicines, and I highly suggest giving it a try if you haven't. Next up is my personal favorite way of actually making medicine, and it's going to be tinctures. I love making tinctures. They're so easy to make. All you really need is time and the proper equipment. Now, here are these tincture bottles. They are specifically designed for this reason. Now, one of the main reasons why this is so effective is because it is an extremely potent version of whatever you happen to be using. This is an example right here of garlic. I made a garlic tincture, as you can see on the top. I started it on February 9th, and it is 1 to 2, meaning I have 1 part garlic to 2 part alcohol, 50% by volume. You always want to make sure you write it down because trust me, you will never remember. The minstrum I use is a vodka, sometimes a 40%, sometimes a 50%, depending on the type of whatever I'm using. This one I use 50% because there's a little bit more moisture in garlic than other things, and if you are any kind of doubt, you don't really know what kind of material you happen to be using, you want to make sure that you have nothing growing in it ever, you can always use Everclear because nothing will ever grow in Everclear. So the best way to do it is whenever you're making a tincture is let everything soak for about 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, and then all you're going to want to do is strain it into a nice little pourable container. Once you get into a pourable container, you can use these tincture bottles that you can get off Amazon, and the best thing about them is they are amber color, so light will not diminish the potency of the alcohol over time. It's going to block out most of that light. Now, you're going to get your funnel, and all you're going to do is you are going to pour it in to the shoulder. If you go any higher than the shoulder, trust me, when you put the pipette in, it's going to overflow, so you always go to the shoulder. Put your pipette down in there, and it is that easy to make these. The reason why I love doing them and I love having them is because they last a very long time. If you use alcohol, it lasts almost indefinitely, and if you have a label maker, it works even better. Up next, we have liniments. Liniments are very effective medicines. They are very easy to make and one of my favorites. They are meant to be used topically and they bring blood flow to an area. So if you happen to jam a finger, maybe have some muscle aches, some arthritis, some inflammation, you can use liniments to help bring blood flow to the area and help it not hurt quite so bad. So this one is a wormwood liniment. All you do is you use a rubbing alcohol and soak the leaves of wormwood for so many days and then you strain it out. Congratulations, there's your liniment. You can use gauze, Q-tip, whatever to soak the affected area and it will help bring relief. The next preparation is going to be a syrup. Yes, a syrup. There are two reasons why you're going to want to make things into syrup. Number one, it makes it taste better. Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. So obviously you're going to want to make things into a syrup if you want to give it to children. And number two, it makes things last longer because sugar is a preservative. So if you have a decoction or a infusion sitting in the fridge, it's not going to last very long. But if you add a whole bunch of sugar to it, congratulations, it can last months. That's the whole purpose of doing it. Basically, whenever you're doing that, you're going to take your decoction like I have right here with ginger, and you're going to add a whole bunch of sugar to it because it's going to make it last so much longer. Now, the only real materials you're going to need differently than a decoction is you're going to obviously want to have a strainer, a funnel, jars. That way you can kind of keep things stored. And last but certainly not least is capsules. Capsules are a very effective way to take medicine. A lot of herbal medicine does not taste good. So if you can powder it up and put it into a capsule, then it's going to be even better for you because you don't have to worry about tasting it. You can just take it down with a shot of water, whiskey, whatever you want to use. What I used to do back in the day was I used to get a top and bottom capsule like this and painstakingly do one at a time. It's not a problem. It's very easy to do and it costs no money except for the capsules. But the problem is it is very tedious. So if you want to get these done quicker, you can invest in something like this. This is called the Capsulate system by Herbal. I'll put a link down below if you want to check it out. But I've already done a review on this product and I really, really like it. I've been using this for a little over a year now and it makes making capsules so much easier that it's just ridiculous if you want to make your own medicine. If you don't have this, you definitely got to look into it because this is a very, very valuable tool. See, check that out. In under 10 minutes, I've made myself 100 capsules, 100 days worth of medicine because I take one turmeric pill every single day for joint pain because I have a bad knee. But it's a very effective system. It's a very effective way to take medicine, and that's why it deserves a place on this list. And yes, call it a flex if you want to. All this footage is mine. None of it's stock footage, just to prove that if I can do it, you can do it too.
Alrighty, so those are the 7 different ways that I prepare herbs to be taken medicinally. Now, are there only 7 ways? Of course not. There is more than 7, but these are the 7 most common that I've used personally several times, okay? The one-offs I'm not mentioning in this video, but the ones that I've used and continue to use, that's what I talked about here. Now, if any of this seemed to be too much of an overview and not in detail enough for you to understand, don't worry, I've done most of these on the channel already. I made my own playlist for herbal medicines that I've made personally. I'll put that up here and down below in the description. Definitely go check it out because I guarantee you if you have a question on how to make a specific type of what I just talked about, then those videos will definitely be able to help you out. Now, one thing about me is I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything because I don't. I get most of my information from books because I like to read a lot and I like to do my own research. Now, one of the best ways that you can find medicines that are already growing on your property or medicinal plants that are already growing on your property is to look at books. These are the ones that I recommend.
The Herbal Apothecary by Dr. J.J. Purcell, Herbal Medic by Sam Kaufman, Rosemary Gladstar's Medicinal Herbs, and Southeast Medicinal Plants by Corey Pine Shane.
Now, I know that last one might not pertain to you because you might not live in the Southeast like I do, but there are other books curtailing to whatever geographical part of the country you may be in. So it's not just a Southeast book. They make Northeast, Southwest, that kind of stuff. Trust me, they're all over the bookstores and online. You'll be able to find something if you just look for it. But one more thing I got to make sure I add before I go is I'm not a doctor, I'm not your doctor, I'm not a physician. I don't pretend to be an herbalist or anything of the sort. I just show you what I do for myself, and if you want to emulate that, by all means, you are adults and you can absolutely do that. But do not hold me accountable for when you mess up because you decided to not do your own due diligence before you put something in your own body, okay? That's on you, not me. But with all that being said, if you like this video at all, please do me a humongous favor and give this video a thumbs up. I very much would appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not. Share the video with somebody who you think might appreciate it, and I will catch y'all on the next one, all right?